The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. We look at the Nasdaq first. We talked about yesterday. We came into support. We're bouncing out of that. Despite some of the slower movement on the day, we continue to push and break back into all-time highs. Probably our strongest close that we've ever had on the Nasdaq as well. You go into the S&P and we look at the SPY and you're getting ready. You're holding our key level we mentioned down here, breaking back up as well, pushing back into local highs there. Qs give you a better example also with the Nasdaq breaking, closing at all-time highs. Again, highest level you ever closed at there. A lot of these levels too, just to let you know, can be found on our Twitter. The link is down below. I try to keep you guys updated with charts, everything like that. So again, this is what we're looking at and kind of preparing for this week. Again, a little bit of a low volume, but as we go into next week, remember it's a 4-day trading week. Wednesday is Juneteenth, so there will be no trading, but still strong action, strong overall action taking place here. Now, I also do want to let you know, guys, go to our website. The link is down below, optiondrops.com. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but go to our newsletter because every Sunday we release the newsletter so you are prepared for the market. You know what to expect. Futures, everything in between. It's all there for you. This is all free. Just make sure you're signed up by Sunday so you get the report. But yeah, so let's jump into this a little bit more. Now, I've gone over SPY, I've gone over Qs, things like that, and I don't think that I need to cover too much of that over like the videos right now, just because we're not necessarily pulling back right now. But what I will say is that you just continue to look strong. So all you're really looking to see is just remounting these previous highs. And I kind of talked about this yesterday on Qs. You mounted above, held over. I mean, just look at the hold. Like that's all you wanted to see there on Qs. SPY, very similar. You want to get back to those highs, hold, break back up. You're just holding our local level there, which was mentioned again on Twitter as well. So that's a continuation so far happening. That's number one. What I do want to talk about is the dollar. Now, a dollar can be used as a risk on versus risk off metric. We look at broad markets. The dollar is holding the 200 SMA. And I made a tweet this morning. And again, I try to always like talk to you guys about, and like, even when I can't make these videos, right? I think Twitter is just the best tool that I can use for this. And when I was talking about the dollar this morning, it was just a little bit weird, and I just wasn't connecting the dots there. Why the dollar was going up, but the 30-year yield continues to show weakness, right? Dropping. This has been our biggest risk on indicator of all. When yields drop, it is a hot bullish market. We know that for sure. I mean, even when yields rise, typically it's gone to a more risk off environment, and then risk on is usually when we drop to the downside. But even through this rise here on the 30-year yield, we've still just pushed up and been stronger than ever, right? We had some slowdown here in, April into kind of, beginning of May, but still, right? And now we're breaking back down. The real goal here is to get back below 4%. We get below 4% down here when it comes to what's happening with yields and rates. That's going to be bizarre, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's what we're looking at right now. You're clearly breaking that uptrend structure. We're coming back down. We're hitting some of our order block levels as well mentioned from Lux Algo. Again, if you're interested in our indicators, our volume, our order block levels, things like that, check it out. The link is down below for Lux Algo. Use code OD40 for 40% off. So that's what we're looking at right now when it comes to the yield and how we're moving there. And this has been a pretty big indicator. But like I said, the dollar. So again, if you don't know, things are happening with the Japanese market, what's happening with the Russian ruble, how they're devaluing the dollar over there. And basically, it's just kind of strengthened the overall DXY dollar versus everything else. I do believe going into next week, the dollar will start to lose its value and it will follow more of what's happening with yields, in my personal opinion. Okay. So again, things I should and you should be looking at as well that are still strengthening the overall market. The only kind of question mark here is U.S. oil still operating lower high so far underneath the 200 daily moving average, but we want to see a hold below the 200 weekly. If that happens, again, inflation will continue to move in that correct trend that we've been watching. But very quickly, we need to go over this. And now let's briefly talk about my favorite investing app and the sponsor of today's video. If you're interested in trading the exact same broker in which I'm using for options and what I'm doing market research on, this is exactly who I'm using. This is Moomoo. This is their platform on their desktop. You can also check it out for the mobile app as well. This is their live news feed. And if you're thinking about making the switch right now, is a pretty good time because right now they're doing a 1.5% cash reward up to $300 if you transfer in. Or if you're just getting started and you want to kickstart your journey, Moomoo is giving you 5 in each of the Magnificent 7 stocks when you make a qualified bonus. You can go down and scroll and see all of this. It's right there on their website. Check them out. The link is down below. Also, guys, I just want to let you know, like, we really do appreciate Moomoo and everything they've done here for the channel. Like, we've really looked for a sponsor as far as like a broker for like a long time. Someone that not only can work with us, but also like has a good product. And like what you're seeing Thinkorswim and these, E-Trade all go down, One of the big testaments right now is like Moomoo has not gone down. They haven't had any problems. You get customer support on the phone. That's the biggest thing for me. That's why I show you whenever we're going over the options chain every day in here, I'm using Moomoo. Just letting you guys know it's where I trade, it's where I do all my work as well. But anyways, going back into the S&P. Really quick, going over just futures, right? So ES, in my opinion, operating in a bull flag above previous all-time highs. Very bullish action. Definition of bullish action. There's no other definition there. Okay, the Nasdaq breaking out already. The only thing that's like, I'm like, come on, baby, it's the Dow. The Dow needs to get back above 39.3. Okay, you get above 39.3, I think you're cooking. And after that, you need to get above 39.7, then you're really cooking. But the Dow is the only thing that's kind of holding us back here. Okay, you're stuck below 39,000 flat. We need the Dow to get back in the market. We saw what happens when the Dow starts to get some love this morning. You saw, and kind of at the end of the day, the Dow started getting some love here. And guess what happened? ANQ ended up pushing into all-time highs again, right? Once you started getting that love from the Dow. This is what I've been saying, is right now when we look overall at the market, there's a few things you need to understand. If I showed you just ETFs, let's go through a few. XLF financials, very weak. Like the banking sector, very weak right now. XLI industrials, very weak, not doing anything. XLV healthcare, right? Kind of flatlined at highs, not really doing much, but over the past days, kind of going down, right? XLY consumer discretionary, kind of flat, not doing much, right? Just not a lot going on here. XLC, right? Communications was a hotter section, but kind of cooled down over the past few days. But when I go to XLK, again, you're going berserk. You're breaking out. You're at all-time highs. This is technology, right? Apple, Microsoft, Google, those types of names. I go look at SMH, semiconductors, all-time highs. So there's only really one part of this market that's really benefiting. Actually, XLE2 energy going to the shitter as well. But there's only two areas of this market that are really carrying you. And I want you to understand that. When we look at the Nasdaq, the Q, SPY, whatever, like what's really holding this is just tech. That's all that's holding this up. Our large tech name. Not even like this mid caps. It's just large tech right now. So when these other names get involved, you start seeing these other sectors start to ignite as well. I'm telling you right now, tech, Q, SPY are going to erupt because they're going to have the help of the whole market, not just one overall area trying to hold up everything else while, things might be crumbling. And that's a really big factor we need to be thinking about in this short amount of time as well. Because once that starts to happen, I'm telling you right now, it's going to greatly benefit the overall market. I've been trying to tell you this for a while, but anyways, so those are things you need to be looking at as of right now. Also, too, before we go into the equities, again, Fed Messer talked this morning. The Fed, this is what you're going to see from the Fed. We're not there yet, but you have to look at a whole group of data and be happy where we're starting to see inflation move back down after stalling a bit in the first part of the year, saying they're happy with where we're at. We need to see a little bit longer before we start cutting rates. We saw Fed Goldsby, right? Very happy. This is just 1 month, but it was very good, right? Again, no one expected this data like we've been talking about. Unemployment's also moving in the right direction as well. Inflation was back down to a level where if it got a lot of months like this, we would feel so much better. Again, see the excitement from the Fed and what they're saying. This is what I'm trying to speak to you guys. The more these reports come in, the higher percent chance we cut rates. And when we cut rates, everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to dump this, that, and this, that." No, ladies and gentlemen, you're not. In my opinion, you're going to get an immediate explosion when we cut rates. It's going to be like the market takes Viagra. That's what it's going to be like. Okay, just because you haven't had a rate cut in 3 years now, maybe even 4. So things to be considering. Now, let's go really quickly into our equities. Get you out of here for the weekend. Number one, Apple. Guys, I want Apple to dip. I really do. I prayed for it last night before supper. Okay. I just don't know if it's going to happen. If I zoom back out here on the VRVP here in Apple, as you can see, you have liquidity here. You have liquidity down here. In between, there's nothing. The fact, you have a little tiny bit here to a 206 where I really want us to go. But as you can see, but below 205, nothing. And then below 211 to 206, nothing, right? But this is the problem, guys, is the buyers are too strong here. They're holding you up. Now, I'm not saying you can't dip. I want you to dip. I really do. But I'm telling you, Apple's my strongest name right now. I think as a company, they are operating in an amazing way. And I think they have a crazy upside value over the next few days and months, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. They do have the EU stuff going on with them. EU, Apple, they have like that whole antitrust thing going on. So I'd be watching. It's not just Apple. But again, I don't really care. I think a dip on Apple is a buy on Apple, especially dated. Going into contracts, I can show you a million different ways to look at these things. I think they're just all fantastic. I like August 220s a lot. Those are some of my favorites. Then I also like the Januaries as well. Do what you got to do, but those are a little bit more expensive, of course. But again, I'm a big bull on Apple. I don't know how else to say it. I can't spend too much time going over that, but beautiful, love it, massive fan. I want to talk about a little bit about small caps like IWM and these other ones. And I think they're operating and presenting good opportunities. I traded some shares the other day. You pushed up to 39, sold some, got some options, and I'm kind of just like letting them fly. Don't really care. But if you get back above the 200 SMA on a firm, I think it's a long. As a company, I think they're doing the right things. And I also think the partnership with Apple was major. So going into their next earnings, I think they could really smash. Definitely worth watching, worth mentioning. But I'm definitely going to be watching IWM over the coming weeks. And I do think that you're getting into a position with IWM and mid caps to where buyers will start coming in sooner than later. Especially with the way that the market's moving. Because once rate cuts happen, these stocks are going to explode. Just know that. Netflix, I mentioned it yesterday in the video, and I mentioned it on Twitter before market close. And again, Netflix did very well. You came almost into our next 676 level. You rejected, kind of stalling here. I'm very bullish on Netflix. I think it's going to end up trying to push into all-time highs. Those contracts I mentioned to you guys yesterday on Netflix, and you could have got them at open today, by the way. You didn't just gap up on Netflix. The ones I mentioned to you were July 12th. They were the 700s. These right here, they were worth $4.50 at close yesterday. Again, you opened up, and they were actually cheaper. You went up at 92% on those options. Again, these are the same contracts I mentioned yesterday. Do what you got to do. Still very bullish on Netflix, very strong overall. I'm, again, very, very bullish on the company. Be watching them. A little bit riskier name, but still like them a lot. As a whole, these semiconductors, there's a few that look crazy. AMAT pushing into highs. ARM made new all-time highs, kind of stagnating up here right now. I'm still really bullish on this. A shout out to Jay Ream, called this one out in Discord as well. But again, another great-looking name there. Also, killed it as well there. But again, I already went over a lot of those. They're kind of super high price compared to where they were. So I don't want to like talk about something that's like just kind of out of reach at this moment now. Okay. But favorite names, those are my favorites that I've mentioned right now. A lot of these other ones are just really expensive, and I just don't want to get people too excited about a name that just might be too expensive. I think Amazon gets back above 184. I think you're pushing back into 186.5, 187. I would be watching that, but you got to get back above the key level 184. Again, option contracts here, not that bad. Personally, I favor the July 19th contracts. That's me personally. Do what you got to do. The 190s, 185s, very cheap. You can still make well above 50% of those contracts as well if those get close to in the money or a little bit above the money. So what I'd be watching as well. Tesla's very interesting, but got to get above and stay above 180, very bare minimum. Kind of just stagnating here. Can't do too much while you're here. We'll see, but I need better action on Tesla. I'm not going to overtrade it down here. One name I do like a lot is Meta. Everyone's been talking about, I want to go short on Meta, this and that. And that's just dumb to me. I'm going to tell you right now. I think Meta above 502, 503 right here is very bullish. I would not be shocked if you pushed back into all-time highs here on Meta above 530. That's my personal opinion. Do what you got to do. These are my favorite names in the market, what I'm watching. I'll have a bigger update for you guys in the next day or so, maybe even on the second channel for this week. So make sure you're subscribed there as well. Have a good one, traders.